As Hurricane Alex is sweeping towards the American coastline, it has already disrupted the oil spill containment efforts in the Gulf of Mexico and drawn the crude to environmentally sensitive regions. Meanwhile, further inland, people are starting to complain about strange symptoms and illnesses that could be related to the cleanup work. RT's Cedric Moon takes up this story.
What you are looking at is the Venice Marina, which is nearby the town of Venice, Louisiana. It's about the most southeast point you can get in the entire state of Louisiana. And to give you a little bit more information, about 100 miles from here is where you can start seeing the first signs of the oil from that catastrophic BP oil spill. And then about 20 miles out from here is where you can see the booms to make sure that the oil doesn't come this way, especially in a marina like this one, where there are a lot of people who live and work here. And then also, those people have been saying that they've been seeing a little bit of the oil come this way anyway. Let me go ahead and take off this mask at this point, and I'm going to go ahead and explain why we put a mask there in a couple of seconds. But first, let me tell you, you've heard plenty of stories about the environmental catastrophe that this oil spill is. You've heard about and probably watched the political drama that's played out in Washington as a result of this spill. And then, of course, you've probably heard plenty of times about the economic ramifications of this spill, too. What you haven't necessarily heard about is the public health concerns that are starting to surface, especially with the people who live and work along the coast. For example, a man like Eric here, who I believe is installing a satellite. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Now, you said something very interesting, that when you first started working around here, you started getting sick. Can you tell us about that a little bit more?
I'm originally out of Baton Rouge, so when I'd come down here, it's my first time down here, I'd heard about the smell. When I got down here, I didn't notice the smell too bad, but I just started getting this headache. And I was talking to one of the EPA guys, and he said that a lot of people down here are getting them. He said he's had a headache for 2 weeks since he's been down here.
Now, that's the reason why a mask like this might be a good idea for the people who live and work in this area, the Gulf area, people like Eric we just spoke with. Let me get rid of this mask real quickly. The big concern now is for things that might be contaminating the air, the contaminants, contaminants like hydrogen sulfide. According to the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, they allow about 5 to 10 parts per billion of hydrogen sulfide in the air on any given day. But according to the measurement of different environmental and public health groups, there is much more hydrogen sulfide in the air than what is allowed on various days, and this is causing a bit of concern. The other group of chemicals that is of concern for these different public health and environmental groups is a group of chemicals called volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, like benzene and methyl chloride. According to the state of Louisiana, they allow about 4 parts per billion of benzene in the air, and they allow about 60 parts per billion of methyl chloride in the air. But you can see, once again, on various dates, you can see much more VOCs in the air than what is allowed by the state of Louisiana standards.
The surprise for me was when we actually got calls from New Orleans and then from Hammond, which is the North Shore. I personally was very surprised to have air quality calls come all the way up, to New Orleans.
So where are these contaminants coming from? Well, they're coming from either the oil itself, the burning of the oil to help clean it up, or the dispersants that are being used to kind of capture the oil as well. With each cause, there is a laundry list of symptoms somebody might be suffering through as a result. For example, this right here is the laundry list of symptoms, short-term symptoms somebody might go through as a result of the oil. Or, for example, this right here is the laundry list of short-term symptoms somebody might go through from the dispersants. This list includes things like headaches, nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, abdominal pains, dizziness. But the concern public health officials, public health experts, and environmental groups have isn't just the short-term effects, it's also the long-term effects.
You can have cardiac issues, you can have neurotoxic issues, Cardiac arrhythmia is one of the things that can happen to you. The birth defects issue affects your reproductive organs.
Now, we have to stress the numbers we showed you earlier about the contaminant levels are from the different environmental groups, and that the numbers from the EPA are different from the ones from the environmental groups. So as they are discussing what the actual numbers are for the level of contamination here along the Gulf Coast, it might be a good idea to wear one of these. Cedric Moon, RT, Louisiana.